Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Rural Rapport. My name is Teresa Hoffman. I'm a Senior Communications Associate here at the Center for Rural Affairs. On this episode, my guest and I will be discussing the Rural Energy for America program, or REAP. It assists rural small businesses and agriculture producers looking to save money by reducing energy costs. With a boost in funding from the Inflation Reduction Act, the program is offering $1 billion in grants and guaranteed loans to assist with investments in renewable energy systems and energy efficiency improvements. This may include the installation of hydropower, geothermal, wind, or solar energy systems, updating heating and cooling systems, or switching from a diesel to an electric irrigation motor. My guest today is Mark Graf. He's a honey producer in Emerson, Nebraska. He used REAP to install a solar array for his operation, Graf bees. Thank you, Mark, for joining us today.
Good afternoon.
Mark, before we talk about your experiences with REAP, tell me about yourself. Tell me about Graf bees. I understand what was once a hobby has grown into much more, including a retail store.
So in 2015, I was wanting something to do and partially something for retirement income down the road. So we started with 2 hives of bees. And from there, we have expanded up to 100 hives last year. We're at that same number this year. That's where we'll peak at, is where I want to be. So we've expanded through all that. And 4 years ago, our library moved to another building in town. And so the old library building, which is on Main Street of Emerson, came up for sale. So we purchased it. And in that, then we used the front of it for a retail store, and the back of it, we extract honey, store part of our equipment, make products that we sell out front. Just use it as a business, as a regular business for it, but it gets the sticky out of our house. Because everything with honey, there's a sticky goes with it. It's just part of the process. So it's really been good for us. We remodeled it, done some things to it. And so it's been good for our Main Street. It's been good for us to be able to have this building here and have something back on Main Street in what was kind of an empty building here. So
That's great testament to rural development and kind of boosting the economy there in your community. Well, let's get into talking about REAP. When did you first consider installing solar panels, and how are you using them?
So I'm trying to think. About 3-4 years ago, I'm not certain when we first looked at putting solar panels on. I was actually working on another project for a business in town, and that project, we were looking for grants. And we was looking for energy assistance grants with it. And so working with USDA Rural Development, REAP was one of the programs we were considering, because we knew we was going to have to update everything. It didn't work out as well for that business for different reasons. You have to have a history of utility usage, and that was a vacant building for several years that had no history, so we couldn't take advantage of it. But in talking with him, I could take advantage of it for a solar array on our business here. The Buzz is the name of our store. So
Okay.
we put a solar array on our business to help offset the cost of our electricity here. To do it alone without REAP, it'd just take longer to pay back, but having the REAP benefits, which I think is a higher percentage now than when we got it, really made a difference on how that all played into effect. So now it covers our usage, but so we make more energy in what we use in a day's time, but at night we use energy. So we still have some usage through the town, but we sell back to them, but at a lower rate because they buy back at wholesale rate and we pay retail when we buy it. So, but we cover about all our energy use with our solar array. It works well for us. It has reduced our electric bills probably in half or better. It gets down to basically the service charge and just a little bit extra. So it's made a difference. I mean, it's
Yeah,
helped.
does sound like it. I know the cost of solar installation can be a barrier for many. You talked a little bit about how you had heard about REAP. How is that program helping you? Or how did it
So
help you?
the REAP program, when I applied for it, was a 25% grant. And then there's a tax credit at that time of 26% that also pay for it. And then we also went through Nebraska Energy Assistance Loan. So we have a loan at 2% interest for part of the cost of the solar array. So between all three of them, it reduced our cost down to where the payoff is about 10 years or less. 7 to 10 years is our payoff on our system, compared to probably up to 15 years if I didn't have these programs in place to use. So that's where the difference comes in, is how long it takes to pay it off. And if I'm not mistaken, I think now there's a 40% grant available to producers or businesses, either one, which would just help make that payoff quicker, and make it more feasible, I should say. You get your money paid back in a time, and then the solar array is good for 15 to 30 years. So really, after you get it paid for, then there's a huge cost savings because you're not making any payments on the solar array or anything else. So that's where the biggest savings come in, is down the road.
So it definitely made it more feasible for you than otherwise, it sounds
Yep.
like. Yeah.
And we didn't,
Yeah.
you can also put in for a battery backup system on your solar array. That's covered also. We didn't do it at the time because of cost of the batteries, and it was fairly new back then, and they're still working some of those kinks out yet. But
Well, tell us about your experience in applying for these funds. Did anybody coach you through the process?
so I contacted our local rural USDA Rural Development Office and spoke to one of the people that work there, who takes care of these grant programs. That's all they do. And they helped me walk through the process. One of the biggest things is you have to go to sam.gov and get a unique ID to apply for any federal grants. That takes some time. So it's not something you do overnight. It'll take 2 weeks to a month pretty easily to go through that process. After you get that process done, we had some assistance. There's some things you have to do. You have to get a solar assessment done and an energy assessment done of your property, wherever you're trying to put this. And if it's towards the end of a grant period, sometimes the people that do that are busy. So if you can schedule these things out far enough in advance, they're good for quite a while. So you can do it while you're looking at it. But all that takes place and needs to be submitted with your grant. But really, the people at USDA Rural Development, they walked me through it. They were helpful when I had questions, and did it all on my own. I mean, it's not impossible to do or anything else. So it's easy enough to do. It just takes some time and some patience, and more, it's not a fast process. You're working with federal government and they work at their speed.
Yeah. You gave a few tips there. Do you have any others for people maybe interested in this program?
So like I said, you need to get a solar assessment done and an energy assessment done on your properties. There's people that do those and they can be done for free. You don't have to pay anybody to do them necessarily. You can. But you also need to work with whoever's your electrical supplier for where you're putting this. Because you have to sign an agreement with them about selling electricity back to them and being able to install this. Unless you want it to be completely a standalone, you have to be able to work with them and do that. They've all done it. You need to contact whoever you think would put in your solar array for you or whatever you're putting in, because you're going to need estimates for it, and you're going to need, they can be a lot of help in filling out all this paperwork too, because they have to sign off on part of it, that they're going to do the work. Here's the estimates, here's what it takes. And they do part of this assessment for you also. So all that ties together, but you need to work with several people to get it done. Rural development can help you locate some of these people. I don't think they give contractors' names out, or if they do, they're going to give you a whole list of them. But really those contractors will come in and help you a lot. They work the process, they understand it. That's how they get jobs, because it's far more feasible for everything to work through that. So it works pretty easy once you get going on it. And then it's just a matter of follow-up paperwork afterwards. And like I said, it takes a while. I think they're turning the grant process a little quicker than what they used to. But once you apply, when I applied, I'm going to go back to that. When I applied, my grant was good for a full year. So there was 3 or 4 funding opportunities during that cycle that my application was good for. And I didn't get the first opportunity, but I did get one. So the other big thing that everyone will tell you is you cannot sign any contracts with any buddy until after all your grant paperwork is approved and the grant is issued. Well, until your grant paperwork's turned in. I take that back. You don't have to have the grant approved, but so don't sign anything until you have approval to do that, because that'll void your grant otherwise. So.
Well, it sounds like just doing your homework, using the services provided through USDA Rural Development and anything tips they may have as well. Sounds like you had a pretty, don't want to say smooth process, but wasn't complicated.
No, it wasn't. And like I said, USDA Rural Development, they were easy to work with. That was helpful a lot. And they'll tell you the different steps you need to work through. And I just called up and talked to them and whoever I got. And there's 2 of them in the office I work with, and both of them very knowledgeable, both of them willing to help you. But eligibility, farmers, ag producers, business people, more of it has to be the size of the town you live in or things like that. It's made for rural Nebraska, or rural America, I should say.
Yep.
For us, rural Nebraska, that you can't be in Lincoln or Omaha. Those are too big of a city, or Grand Island even. So
Right.
You need to be at the smaller level, but our town was easy to work with. Everybody else is easy to work with. So that made it pretty simple. Installation went easy. It only took a day or 2 for them to do this. We did our house also. It doesn't fit on the REAP grant because that's not part of the business, but we still did it because of, it'll pay off, just not as quick as what this will. So.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, you talked a little bit about the qualifications, so I'll go over those for those people who are watching. It is open to agriculture producers and small businesses. So for agriculture producers, you must earn at least 50% of your gross income from agriculture operations. Income may be from product sales, production contracts, crop insurance, commodity payments, and similar matters. May be located in rural and non-rural areas as long as the project is associated with an on-site production operation. And for small businesses, the qualifications include you must be located in a community with a population fewer than 50,000, maybe a private for-profit entity, a cooperative, electric utility servicing rural customers independent of government control, or a Section 17 tribal corporation or business of that tribal corporation, and must have a net worth of less than 15 million and a net average income of less than 5 million for the previous 2 years. If you missed all that, we'll have I have a link below to an article from the center that we had that information in. Additionally, applicants must provide matching funds if applying for a grant, and 25% of the project cost if applying for a loan. As Mark said, all projects require environmental review, and energy efficiency projects require an energy audit or an assessment. There is an application deadline coming up of June 30th, but there will be quarterly application periods for the next 2 years. Additional information on this can be found at rd.usda.gov. I've included that link in the comments below, as well as a link to Graf's. Mark, thanks again for joining me to share your experiences with the Rural Energy for America program. And thank you all for joining us today for the Rural Rapport. If you'd like to learn more about the center, visit our website at cfra.org. Have a good day.